Hey, lately I've been thinking about how to do some things that I used to do as a kid, sort of passively, but as I've come to terms with how little structure there is in adulthood sometimes compared to being a kid, it seems like some of those things might take a bit more effort now. And one of those things is sharing my hobbies with people just because I want to share the fun that I'm having. And lately, I've been thinking about off road racing, like with cars and trucks. If you know me personally, you probably don't associate me with motorsport or cars or know that I have any feelings about them. But I got back into racing games, I think, sometime during the pandemic. And recently, I also got a simulation steering wheel. It has an electric motor in it, which lets it give force feedback, which means that it pushes back at you based on what is happening to the car in the game. I was surprised and delighted to find out how much of a workout it is. I thought I was treating myself to a toy when I saw this one. It was on a 75% markdown. And it turns out I bought myself a compound exercise machine, and I've been using it almost every day since I bought it. I think I've invited everyone who's visited our apartment so since I bought it to try it, and they've all loved playing with it, even though none of those people play racing games. I've also found that when I've been hanging out in voice chats with my friends and sharing my screen while I drive through some races or I work on building my own events, they've enjoyed tagging along for that too. So this hobby seems like a fine opportunity to practice more intentionally sharing with other people the fun that I'm having. I want to try sharing on, I guess one of the words of our time would be an asynchronous medium, because I am coming to terms with how hard or outright impossible it is for adults with different schedules, living in different time zones, to set time together. Certainly, it's not possible to do as spontaneously as kids sometimes can. And if it's that hard for close friends, forget strangers. So I'm starting this little channel, and I will try, at least for now, to keep it as more of a vlog, like its own creative project, just for fun, and try not to ruin the fun for myself by making it too real. And the first few things that I have in mind for sharing are some different things that I've been having fun with in racing games. I've already posted some test videos, and I might post more little things like those. So just some runs that I'm happy with that could be timed racing, they could be drifting, which is, I guess, a kind of stunt driving where you slide around in the car. And maybe I'll just post some straight up cruising. Maybe I'll crush it with visual effects and make it really chill or something. I also have been playing a lot with the creative mode in this game, Forza Horizon 5. Making my own events. And with the sim wheel, it turns out to also be structuring my own exercise routines. And I wish I could share the actual physical experience of the wheel over the internet, because I've loved seeing people light up when they try it and realize how intense and exciting it is. I love sharing that, and seeing other people enjoying the same thing that I'm enjoying. But I can't do that over the internet as far as I know. So I guess just imagine wrestling with a small-ish, medium-sized dog, maybe 30 or 40 pounds, for hours. That's kind of what my wheel feels like to play with. So while we wait for scientists to design some kind of electrode attachment to headphones for communicating physical sensations over the internet, let's look at what I can share with you right now. For this first video, I wanted to share an event that I made using the creative mode in Forza Horizon 5, and this is where the off-road racing part comes in. I made this event, and I'm working on more because I've been learning more about a kind of endurance racing called Rally Raid. In real life, that takes place over hundreds of miles, and navigating and just keeping the car intact all the way to the end are big parts of those events. Just finishing it all is an accomplishment. But I don't have the resources to actually go and do those races in real life. So I've been using this creative mode to synthesize what I've been learning and bring it into a format that I can play with, and I can share this with people. I also made this event because I wanted to race in the specific terrain that I drew the course through. This fictionalized version of Mexico is perfect for me. And I think, as far as I can tell, the desire to go on an adventure in a particular kind of set of environments or climates or biomes is a big part of organizing those events in real life too. So in this course, it goes through a dry riverbed and some volcanic soil hills, and there's shrubs and boulders obscuring your vision. There's also a pretty beach where I added some apartments and a small public park and a little festival spot for people to watch the racers sliding around on the sand. And after that, there's a bumpy, still wet riverbank with rocks on all sides. And my intention with placing the rocks like that was to make you carefully choose where to put your tires. So you have to kind of make a commitment to decide how you're going to keep going straight while still having enough traction to go fast. And while I'm sharing this with you, I also want to share the little challenge that I set for myself when I play through it. And here are the rules for the challenge. I set the game to the maximum difficulty level. That, as far as I know, only affects how the AI or the NPC racers behave. No driving line, so no visual aid on the ground for navigation, only my memory and the environmental cues, which do include flares at each waypoint and also like a giant beacon that beams down from the sky. No crashing or spinning out, so if I hit something and flip over or I come to a stop, then start over. No hitting other cars. And I don't know if this is universal, but I did learn that in the North American Off-Road Racing Association, which is I think what they're called, their races have a penalty for touching another car at all. But basically race as cleanly as I can. And this is the hardest rule for me because the AI sometimes hits something and then immediately goes into reverse, regardless of what is around them, and slams into everyone behind them. So if I survive all that, ideally finish first. In terms of time, I tried to program within the limitations of the rule creator a staggered start, kind of like what I understand how these races work in real life. So you can get first place without crossing the finish line before everyone else. But there is also some satisfaction that comes with overtaking every other car because the player car starts in the back. This event has 3 versions for 3 categories of cars, and I think I'm going to show them in increasing order of their difficulty for me. definitely what I'm planning to do is show the hardest one last, the one that I find the most challenging last. But I'm going to start with the silliest category, which is for classic and cult project cars of the 60s and 70s. And I'm going to be driving the VW Bus. I'm going to be running the co-op and solo versions of these events, and that's important. I've programmed them to give huge boosts to the first 6 racer slots. So if you want to use like an even PvP version, it's important to use the version of this event that is labeled for PvP. Unless you do want to randomly assign massive boosts to your buddies while you're playing this together. I will try to keep updated share codes in the description because I will probably be touching these things up as time goes on. All right. Thanks for listening. And now, let's see what I can pull off in this race. And I hope you stick around for more later.